Week 3 of the A.J. Armstrong trial starts in just 30 minutes. We could reach closing arguments as early as this afternoon. A.J. is charged with killing his parents in their Southwest Houston home. The murders happened in July of 2016. The judge has not allowed cameras inside the courtroom, but we've assembled a team of journalists who are inside and are dedicated to reporting every angle of this case. We are calling our in-depth coverage The Bench. Outside the criminal justice courthouse are two people on that team, Rilwan, Balogun and Jason Nguyen. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Zach. All signs point to today will be the last day of testimonies by witnesses, and then shortly thereafter we can expect closing arguments from both sides.
Yeah, and we really do think that it's going to last about 3 to 4 hours for closing arguments. Remember, prosecutors get to go twice, defense attorneys get to go once, and then it heads to deliberation, and that can take forever because the jury actually needs to have that conversation about what they heard inside. It's the first time the jury will get to talk about it, but let's get back to these witnesses you just brought up.
Right now we have video up on the screen that you all are seeing of AJ and his defense team walking up just moments ago, really showing them getting prepared for this final day of witness testimonies.
And this guy, he's going to be the main one to talk about, is Dr. Mark Muller. You were in there with me. You kind of saw what the theatrics that happened with him. Tell us all about that.
So Dr. Mark Muller, extensive background in forensic psychiatrist, in psychology. So the issue right now is because the the prosecutors are arguing he has more medical records of Josh Armstrong, that's AJ's older brother, than prosecutors have. So right now the judge, there was a lot of back and forth Friday, going back and forth with defense and prosecutors saying that he has more information than prosecutors have. At that one point, the judge said, you know what, we're going to stop it. We're going to suspend his testimony until today, hoping that over the weekend that prosecutors could get that same documents and medical records of Josh Armstrong that the defense has.
And then there was another couple pair of people that we need to talk to. First witness I want to talk about is Kay Winston. She's the grandmother. She was there on scene. Rilwan, what did you take away from her testimony?
I'll say Kay Winston, once she sat down and once she announced herself as being Antonio Armstrong Sr.'s mother, the mood in the gallery of the courtroom really shifted. It got really somber quickly. She's given a background of the family history, talking about Antonio Sr., his legacy, his work in the NFL, and then opening this gym here, really humanizing him, letting us know more about who he is and along with who Don is as well. It was a very emotional day when she was on the stands.
Yeah, and the other person that I'd like to bring up is Kayra Armstrong.
Yeah.
Now, she was 12 years old during this whole time when all of this happened, but she seemed to be very articulate in what she had to say to prosecutors. Bring us into her world and what she had to say, because we were both playing hopscotch with our TV duties at that time.
We want to make it known, outside of AJ, Kayra is the only surviving member of the family who was inside the home at the night of these murders. Her testimony was very poignant. She talked about AJ waking her up that night after he was making the phone calls to 911, saying that he was urgent and frantic, trying to get her out of the home. She recalled being at the edge of the driveway that night with AJ, just looking into their home until officers separated them. Again, this is at that point, officers inside the home believe that whoever committed these crimes must have been at the home. It was a really poignant, she was very articulate. She spoke very well about this whole ordeal she had to go through.
And I think it's important to note that she was also the person that set the alarm that night.
Yes.
She said that she was the one, she came home from a long day with the grandmother, and then she set that alarm that night before she went to bed. And I honestly think, I'm going to flip this over here because there's a lot to talk about here, because one of the things that, the takeaways we got here, and I'm going to steal one of our legal analysts' words here and say that, this blood splatter that was found over here, that was found on the back of AJ's sticker there, I don't think it's a big smoking gun anymore. I think it's one of these things where the jury is really smart. They got to see the stairs, they got to see the bed and everything along those lines. But when it came to this visitor sticker, when the prosecutors brought back the original prosecution team, we started to see a couple of holes where Lester Blizzard, I believe is his name, correct me if I'm wrong, was admitted that he held this shirt after holding the bloody pillows. And then we heard from John Brewer, who also said it appeared like during that original trial, that sticker was actually pulled up a little bit. And you did a great job demonstrating that for us all last week.
Shirt?
But Rilwan, heading into all of this, we still have more witnesses that we need to
kind of talk through,
and talk through. What's one of the? Oh, you're going to bring the shirt out.
I was going to do that demo again because I think that demo was important. Imagine the name tag sticker being on the right side here. This is Lester Blizzard, one of the original prosecutors in the 2019 trial, testifying again this time after, and the defense getting him using pictures from that trial showing that he curled or scrunched up the shirt in a way that possibly could have gotten cross-contaminated with some of the blood. But you're talking about some of the other witnesses here.
The Alarm.com guy, I think this all kind of goes back to the Alarm.com and ADT folks, because they spent 2.5 days on that. Kind of run us through, Rilwan, on how that all worked out. I know we don't have the graphic here, but we do have some video of them.
Yeah, so the Alarm.com expert here was talking a little bit about how the system itself works. ADT is the one who handles the software itself. Alarm.com, they deal with all of the material, the workings inside the alarm itself. He was able to say that the alarm was working perfectly, he said, was working, but the defense did get him to admit that there were a number of rare occurrences where the data wasn't sent immediately to the cloud, that data just didn't happen. So that's what the defense is leaning on, saying that, well, it's not as reliable as you might suggest it may be.
And Sam, if you can pull it up, I think Josh Armstrong is kind of the meat of all of this because they've been talking about Josh and his mental state. And they also pointed to Trenton Teamer, which was a cousin that the defense had brought up that, they should have investigated and talked to during that night because they were both there that night of those murders. Kind of run us through some of the thought process behind that.
Between Josh and Trenton.
Josh and Trenton being the alternative suspect.
So the defense is arguing that Josh Armstrong was in a psychotic state, saying he had a mental break and would have possibly committed these things. They said he had access to the garage with the alarm on it, and that the family apparently all knew the password to, and would have been easy for him to gain access into the home. And then after, Trenton Teamer, this is the cousin again, who was there shortly after, and this is all the defense saying that prosecutors and the police, Houston Police Department, didn't do a thorough investigation looking into every single person. They're alleging that Trenton Teamer, along with Josh Armstrong, should have been closely looked at, while prosecutors and HPD had a number of HPD investigators on the scene saying that, well, all evidence pointed to someone who did this inside the home. So we expect to learn more about Josh Armstrong's medical records today with Dr. Mueller testifying on that. And then we'll just see what these closing arguments could be.
Yeah, because it could happen today. I think both of our sources, we've worked them pretty well, believe that this will all go down tomorrow, but it all kind of depends on if the defense attorneys take their witness through lunch and the timing behind all of that, because you said it best on Friday. The judge told the jury to do one thing.
Yeah, the judge told the jury Friday, bring a pack of clothes, pack everything they need, toiletries, change of clothes in case they might be sequestered. This is something we learned during jury selection months ago, that a number of the potential jurors, none of them who were selected, asked about the possibility of being sequestered. And with the judge telling them to pack a bag, it seems all likelihood that they might be sequestered during their deliberations.
Yes, and the main key here is it could happen this afternoon or it could happen tomorrow. And then what we know from the past, it took about 2.5 days for the jury to come back, and they were, the last previous trials, both juries were hung.
Yeah, so we will see what happens after today. Today, we're expecting to get underway again at 8:30 on the 19th floor. Jason and I will be in there. Zach, we're going to send things back to you.
Very interesting. We'll be watching, and we trust that you will keep us updated throughout the day.